I sense that people are rejoicing that this new law is going to go into effect on January 1st, 2024, and I don't know why exactly they're rejoicing. So the LA Times reports that California police are required to state the reason for traffic stops before questioning drivers next year. This is written by Noah Goldberg, and I'm going to go over some of this, but why would you rejoice at cops having to follow a law when they're already not following the First Amendment? They're already disrespecting the Second Amendment. They already trample our Fourth Amendment right to be secure in our persons, houses, papers, and effects. So if a cop has to follow another law, what makes you think he's actually going to follow it when the supreme law of the land isn't being followed? This guy writes, starting January 1st, California police officers will have to tell drivers why they've been pulled over before questioning them on any subject. So instead of pulling them over and saying, do you know why I pulled you over? They have to pull you over, approach your vehicle and say, the reason why I'm pulling you over is because you got a tail light out. There's stuff hanging from your rearview mirror that shouldn't be there. Your tag light's out. You got a headlight out. You crossed the fog line. You were going too fast. You were going too slow. You were doing things that I thought was suspicious. Here's how I look at this. The cop is going to pull you over and wait to lie to you after he's asked you a battery of questions up to and including making yourself insecure in your persons, houses, papers, and effects by showing your ID, or he's going to lie to you up front because cops lie. Cops are trained to lie. Cops are good at lying. If cops aren't lying, they're not cops. If politicians aren't lying, they're not politicians. Why? How do we know? Politicians lie. Cops lie. How do we know they're going to follow this law? And even if they did follow it, who cares? They're going to fabricate their lie before they approach your vehicle, and it's going to be the first thing they hit you with, or they're going to wait and fumble around and conduct their little fishing expedition. See, the fishing expedition is going to be enacted, whether they tell you before why you're pulled over or after they decide to, collect your ID or whatever. They're going on a fishing expedition. They didn't pull you over because they're sensitive to your rights and they want to make sure they want to protect them. They're not serving and protecting. They're there harassing and collecting. The new law stems from a state assembly bill passed in 2022 that will take effect in the new year. The law written by this assembly member seeks to curb pretextual stops in which police use a minor infraction, sometimes not mentioned to the driver at the start of the interaction, as the basis to pull over a vehicle and investigate other possible crimes. Well, I'll tell you this, whether they do it before or tell you afterwards why you're pulled over, they are trying to fabricate a crime that you weren't involved in so that they can increase the coffers of the state. Why? Because they are road pirates. How many times have people been pulled over just for speeding or allegedly speeding in America every single year? 41 million. How much does that rake in for the coffers of the state every single year? $6.1 billion. How much does that mean that the road pirates are raking in for the state every single minute? $11,796 every single minute of every single day. It doesn't matter if they're going to tell you why they pulled you over before or they wait till after. While pretextual stops have been deemed constitutional, thanks Supreme Court justices, you rogue tyrants, a study by researchers at Stanford University of more than 100 million traffic stops, think about that, across more than 20 states, 100 million traffic stops in just 20 states. There's 30 more states to go. How many times do they actually stop people? How many times do they actually disrespect the Constitution that they swore to protect, defend, and uphold? 100 million traffic stops across more than 20 states found that black drivers were 1.5 to 2 times more likely to be searched than their white counterparts. Similar disparities exist in Los Angeles, according to 2019 analysis by the Times. The new law would not stop police from pulling drivers over for minor infractions, such as a broken taillight, and then escalating to a search of the vehicle if they had probable cause to believe a crime had been committed. Do you get that? The new law would not stop police from pulling drivers over for minor infractions. In other words, the new law would not stop police from conducting their fishing expedition where they're trying to get something, anything on you so that they can escalate and increase the charges. Because, more charges mean they're going to bring in more money. And that means they're going to bring in more pats on the back at the office, and more plaques on the wall, and more recognition in the community who's going to clap like a bunch of brain dead seals because the boys in blue protected our community. But Oakland Privacy, a group supporting the legislation, says that simply knowing the reason for a stop can assuage a motorist's fear, panic, and urge to flee. Really? So telling you at the outset why you've been pulled over is going to assuage your fear, panic, and urge to flee? How is that? Your life is still hanging in the balance because a badged authoritarian power tripper is sitting there with a gun at your window telling you did something wrong, and boy, you're going to pay, boy. You're going to pay for this one. Resulting in less combative and potentially dangerous interactions with police. Yeah, we don't want police to be in a dangerous situation when they're trying to shake us down. This group says there's simply no reason not to do this. The role of law enforcement is to enforce the law. No, it's to keep the peace. They're not supposed to be law enforcers. Why? Because most laws are wicked, cruel, evil, unjust, and unfair. You don't want people out there doing what's wicked, evil, cruel, unjust, and unfair, enforcing that on people. You don't want that. The role of law enforcement is to enforce the law. No. It's to uphold people's rights. It's supposed to be anyway. But, according to the Supreme Court case DeShaney versus Winnebago County and Gonzalez versus Castle Rock, they have no obligation to keep you safe in any way, shape, or form. It's not to play cat and mouse games to try to provoke people into doing the wrong thing and causing the encounter to spiral out of control. The law does allow for exceptions if an officer reasonably believes that withholding the reason for the stop is necessary to protect life or property from imminent threat. And they're going to reach deep in their bag of tricks to figure out something so they can make themselves look good and give a reason for not telling people the reason they pulled them over. Well, why'd you pull me over, officer? Well, the reason I pulled you over is so that I could have time to figure out the reason I pulled you over. Some jurisdictions have already worked to limit pretextual stops. See, the fact that they admit the existence of law enforcement pretextual stops shows a very, very serious problem. They know it's there, but nobody's going to do anything about it. A pretextual stop is absolutely unconstitutional. I don't care what the Supreme Court says. In 2022, the Los Angeles Police Department required officers to have a reason to believe a more serious crime had been committed before initiating a pretext stop. So they even admit it. That means the Los Angeles Police Department is admitting the existence of pretextual stops. The rule requires officers to record on their body camera that reason for making the stop. The rule quickly caused pretext stops by LAPD to plummet. Holden's measure drew the ire of the California State Sheriff's Association because they hate your guts, which called it strict and said that, quote, it prohibits an officer from asking for a person's identification or even asking a person to turn off the vehicle's ignition prior to disclosing the reason for the stop. We don't want to be constrained by any laws. The bill that went even further than Holden's failed to generate enough support to pass the legislation this year. The state Senate bill would have eliminated pretextual stops altogether, making it so police could not pull people over for minor infractions. And guess what? They shouldn't be allowed to. Nobody should have that kind of power because power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. More specifically, power draws like a magnet, like some magical force draws the corruptible to itself. Police would have been allowed to pull over motorists if they had 2 or more minor infractions at the same time, but not to pull over drivers for just 1 infraction. So, people are rejoicing that the cops are going to have to follow this law. But number one, since when do cops follow their own laws? They break their own rules all the time. They'll give you a speeding ticket as they speed down the road. They'll give you a ticket for rolling through a stop sign as they continually roll through stop signs and red traffic lights. They don't follow their own laws. Why would they follow this one? They don't uphold the Constitution, which they swore they would do. Why would they uphold this? And even if they do uphold this, how is that going to benefit us? Because they're still going to continue their pretextual stops. They're going to still continue to fabricate a reason why they pulled you over. Leave your thoughts. Are you excited about this law? Do you think the cops are really going to follow it? Do you think it even matters if you know beforehand why you got pulled over, or they wait to do their little magic tricks and reach into their bag of tricks to try to find some way to pin something on you? Let me know. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know. Don't forget to subscribe to my private email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. It's free. If you want to support the channel, grab a hard-hitting conversation starting shirt from the store, become a channel member, but more importantly, know your rights and exercise your rights. If you don't exercise your rights, you will lose them. Yes, freedom is dangerous, but the only thing more dangerous is not having freedom. I will see you in the next video.